evening. Fantastic audience tonight. Thank you so much. People coming from far and wide, including the United States, just to be here this evening. You'd love to see it. So, we have suffered 1 year of Sir Keir Starmer.
It is 10 o'clock right now, and that means the exit poll is going to be revealed. More importantly, of course, it means the polls have closed.
The exit poll result now. Let's reveal it. Conservatives, 131 seats. Labour, an astonishing victory for Sir Keir Starmer, 410.
Well, he came in on a wave of optimism. Then this happened. Freebies Gate, yes, they all went to see Taylor Swift, and they didn't initially declare that properly. Then it turned out that Lord Ali bought his suits and his wife's clothes. And let him stay at his penthouse. But why were you staying at that £18 million penthouse, Sir Keir?
I wanted somewhere safe and quiet for my son to do his GCSE preparation. I needed it to be secure because of the situation we were in.
Oh, so your child could revise for his GCSEs. Shame that the exams finished way before you moved out, though, wasn't it? Weird that, just got comfy. And does anyone remember this woman?
Leaders have to motivate people to do things they wouldn't otherwise do.
That was his voice coach. Yes, just his voice coach, who had to give him lessons on Christmas Eve during lockdown. So, it was a bad start. All that came out, scandal, scandal, scandal. But then, things got better.
At times like this, we must all put the national interest first and play by the rules. Of course, I understand that sticking to the rules can be inconvenient. But stick to the rules.
Oh, no, they didn't, because it looked like a video emerged of him in Lord Halley's house during COVID as well, so that was all a little bit odd. Well, then he scrapped the winter fuel payment for pensioners, didn't he?
Fuel cut, no way! Tax the rich and make them pay! Winter fuel cut, no way! Tax the rich and make them pay! Winter fuel cut, no way! Tax the rich and make them pay!
OK, and then he mugged off the farmers. So, yes, illegal migrant crossings are up 50% as well on last year, but at least he had a really good time at Labour Party conference and didn't make a fool of himself.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages.
Has anyone seen the sausages? Have the sausages returned? No one's returned the sausages yet. So anyway, he's given away the Chagos Islands. He's made us pay for it. We've got Spanish police on British soil in Gibraltar. He was sidelined by Trump when it came to Iran, and then this happened. Nigel Farage bent him over and spanked him at the local elections, didn't he? So, his MPs went out and, well, let's put it this way, they connected with the public. Yeah, Mike Amesbury there just battered a constituent in the street, didn't he? Just battered him. Well, he's done more U-turns than a one-armed swimmer, including this week on welfare, which caused his Chancellor to cry her eyes out in Parliament.
And may I take this opportunity to thank our outstanding British Transport Police for everything that they do to support...
Of course, that was a personal matter. Talking of U-turns...
Politicians who sat in government for many years, calling for inquiries because they want to jump on a bandwagon of the far right.
He didn't want a Pakistani rape gangs inquiry, but now there is one, and he likes calling people far-right, a bit like he did after Southport, remember that? Gosh, didn't handle that well, did he? And he said that he wouldn't raise taxes, but taxes have gone up. He's tanking in the polls, the public don't believe a word he says, and there's loads more I could have said, but we haven't got all night. So, how much longer before he's turfed out of Downing Street and on the phone to Lord Ali asking for his old room back? But there we go. Right, let's go straight to my audience. There's a chap on the front row here. What's your name? Where are you from? What would you like to say, mate?
Oh, yeah. I'm Reece. I'm from Bury.
Lovely part of the world.
A bit, yeah. No, I just wanted to raise a point because this past year, since the Labour government have been in, I've seen every aspect of my life somehow get worse. I've seen the nation financially just destroyed. I've seen so many riots in streets, and I've seen so many wrong things like crimes from illegal migrants. And I saw a 20,000 migrant channel crossing figure the other day, which is the most in a record history, which I'm so shocked at. So I just want to ask, what is Labour going to do to turn it around? Because they've done a lot of U-turns and not for the good.
So one U-turn they could do is make things better.
I hope so, yes.
Do you mean change by any chance?
A bit of change.
Change. Interesting. I thought that's what we were voting for, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well done, mate. Thank you very much. It was always great to see a younger person as well engaged in politics and on the media as well. Fantastic stuff. So go on, Christy. You're itching to get involved.
No, I'm not. I'm just Barry. I think you should actually take the floor after that list.
Go on then.
Barry's pitching.
You've put down a whole load of things that have gone wrong last year. Absolutely right. Yeah. I'm not going to try and justify those.
All right, then, my turn.
4 million.
Go on.
What I'm going to do, Christo, is I'm going to talk about 4 million extra NHS appointments, 3 trade deals, 4 interest rate cuts that are reducing people's mortgages, 3,000 more police officers, 1,900 more GPs, the biggest upgrade of workers' rights in a decade, water company bosses being banned for getting their pollution wrong, from taking their bonuses, the biggest increase in defence spending since the Cold War started, and wage growth higher.
There's things like rural broadband giving away the Chagos.
Wage growth higher in 10 months than in the last 10 years. Okay, so there's a lot that's gone wrong, but there's a hell of a lot that's actually starting to be fixed. We've got another 4 years to get on and do it, but we've got a hell of a lot of work to do.
OK, do you think Starmer can claw this back? What do you make of his first year?
No, he's totally finished. I mean, look, you don't have your Chancellor crying behind you in PMQs because you're doing well in Parliament, do you? Let's face it, right? Let's get with reality. Whilst Barry said some good things there, and I want Britain to be prosperous. I don't care what the government is. I just want Britain to do well. I think we'll all agree with that. But, you know...
So why are you talking it down?
Well, no, I'm not talking... But we need to tell the public the reality, Barry. We can't gaslight the public into thinking things are going well.
I'm just giving you the reality.
I mean, his Chancellor's been crying behind him at PMQs. Barry, come on, let's get to grips with the reality here. This party is dividing, it's pulling itself apart. It took the Tories 14 years to get into this utter mess, and now Labour's done it in less than a year. Let's put it that way.
So, go on. There's a chap here, I think, you wanted to make a point, did you?
Well, yeah. I wondered if Barry, he probably will agree, but whether he said before that any Labour leader is better than any Conservative leader, but surely, you know, this has to shake that confidence. Starmer's last 12 months, disastrous.
Well, as I say, there's a lot of good things that have happened, and nobody would say, and I'm sure you wouldn't claim, sir, that we inherited a great financial situation from the Tories. We inherited a country that was in a mess. We had the worst ratings of the NHS that there's ever been. When we left it in 2010, they had the best ratings there'd ever been. So we've had a lot to turn around.
Let's get to Emily. That first year of Starmer, in summary, was there anything you particularly... Do you think he can turn it round? Do you think it's as bad as I've made out?
Well, I just want to ask that you said he was talking down the country. What was the first thing that Starmer did when he came to power? Talk down the country. Yeah. He said there was a 22 billion hole. Well, they somehow found 175 billion to fill that 22 billion hole at the same time as taxing ordinary workers. So I'm sorry. And also, what's their excuse for doing so badly in the first year? The Tories had to deal with a pandemic and then a war in Ukraine.
That wasn't in the first year.
The first 6 years...
The pandemic was in 2020. They came into power in 2010.
The first 6 years of the Tory government, we were recovering after Labour emptied our coffers. So I'm sorry, the first 6 years were incredibly stable and we recovered from a global financial meltdown. What is your excuse in your first year of power? Your Chancellor is in tears. Keir Starmer is already loathed by his own party, who he refuses to even speak to. And I can list a whole... His own Labour MPs say he looks down his nose at them. And what's he done for the country? He comes in, he talks it down, and nothing has got better. He's not had a pandemic. He hasn't had a war break out in Ukraine. He's just made mistake after mistake after mistake. And I think a lot of us are feeling incredibly nervous about where the country is going to be in 3 years' time.
I would like to add to that brilliant diatribe.
There's more?
There's more. That what is so irritating is we We inherited a mess. Well, yes, there was a lot of spending during COVID, and that did leave us in a financial mess. Spending that the Labour Party supported. All of the measures that left us in a financial mess.
Wanted more of it.
Supported, and then they got into power, and they were sort of like, oh, we didn't realise that there'd been money spent when they were there supporting it. Now,
sorry, we didn't support the billions that went to pay the crooks that gave us the.
No, but you supported all that, the lockdowns, all of that left us in a mess. Labour supported.
The ones who got all the equipment that never worked, that we've had to junk since.
Absolutely.
The complete shysters, the mates of the friends.
That's corruption.
Yes, exactly.
That's corruption.
And it still hasn't been recovered.
But, I'm sorry, all of the spending over COVID, Labour supported. And let's talk about where we are as a country now. You're quite right. 3 months of talking down the country before we ended up with the budget, which was so disastrous, right? We have such an exodus of wealth in this country now. The only country where more millionaires left is Turkey. That's the only country that more millionaires left in 2024. We've had, you were talking earlier about business confidence. According to the government's own insolvency service, the number of businesses folding rose 15% year on year in May. We've got the highest tax in history. 274,000 payrolled employees were fired in the last.
Really interesting, Christo, because you've looked up the statistic and you can't say I was wrong. Business confidence is at the highest level. So you checked, and then you chose another statistic to come back at
I'm
me.
sure the data point is correct, but it is a weird statistic. I mean, how do you get a statistic of every business's confidence in the government? You have to be very careful. I mean,
the same way as you've done for the past 20 years.
Businesses are closing.
I just don't think the country, when you've got a deputy prime minister who's leaking her manifesto to the Telegraph, which happens then a few weeks later that have this big rebellion on our hands. I think we have Angela Rayner as Prime Minister in waiting, and I think Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves know it.
I suppose there's big...
God, don't say that.
There's big questions.
I think I'm going to be in tears again.
I was right when I said this going to be a disaster. I think I'm going to be right again.
Do people think that Keir Starmer's still going to be in post this time next year?
No.
The concern might be, for maybe people in this room anyway, is that what comes next, is it going to be harder left or whatever? So I suppose, Barry, final word to you on this, because sorry, you have to take a bit of a pelting here, to be fair, mate. But what do you think Keir Starmer, honestly, do you think Keir Starmer's going to be in post this time next year? It's looking pretty bleak.
Yes, I do. I think it's been an incredibly tough first year. I think one of the interesting things, and we're talking about business confidence, is when the markets thought that Rachel was not going to be in post, what happened? They reacted negatively, OK? The bond markets reacted against that because they wanted her to stay in post, because they believe that at least she has stability.
By the way, we don't know that for sure. We don't know that for sure. They might have also been reacting because they saw a recreation of the madness that this government said it wasn't going to allow. Yeah. So we don't know that they reacted because she was going to leave. They saw their Chancellor crying and the pound tanking, and it's no surprise the gilt markets reacted at that point because what they saw was instability in all its forms.
Well, that's not the way most commentators are spinning it.
Well, spin might be the operative word, that's to be fair, but yes, OK. All right, well, we'll have to wait and see, won't we? But anyway, we've made it through the first